Hi, I'm Julia Rogers. I'm a professional gap year counselor. And today, in a short video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what a gap year is, what the benefits are, and what some activities are if you decide to take one. Let's get started. Okay, first things first, what is a gap year? If you have somebody in your life who's taking gap time, maybe you think you know. I define a gap year as an intentional period of personal growth aided by activities of enrichment. Additionally, we want to pay attention to personal, practical, and professional goals that help create a really meaningful and holistic gap experience. Ideally, a gap year pushes a student out of their comfort zone, allows them to explore new things, and allows them to experiment in the professional world so they go into their next stage of life knowing a little bit more about what they might want to do. Now I want to allow you to listen to a video from a gap year alum named Jonah. He talks a little bit about his impressions of his gap year, and I think it's really important to get the student side of things as well when we're exploring the gap year option. Let's take a listen.
If I were to give advice to someone who was thinking about taking a gap year, I would say you're at an incredible time in your life. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. The only person who knows what they want out of your future is you. So follow your gut, follow what your heart's telling you to do, and just give yourself time to be young, explore, go on adventures. My gap time makes me feel like the richest person on the planet. Trust me, you won't regret it.
Now, one of the things that you'll hear when you hear a student talk about their gap time, similar to Jonah, is that they end up coming out of their experience thinking about it as the best decision that they could have made. Now, if you're not familiar with the gap year concept, you might feel like this period of time is an extra or a bonus or not necessary. But I think that what really people need to pay attention to is the fact that our young people right now in this moment have lost out on many experiences that help build out their self-identity, as well as give them experiences that can give them clues about what their career path might look like. So a gap year now is more important than ever for giving our kids the tools they need to thrive in the adult world. And that's not just my anecdotal opinion. We actually see that in the benefits of gap time. What you see here are some statistics that are pulled from a survey of gap year alums. So these are self-identified outcomes of gap year students. 98% of them say that their gap year allowed them to get out of their bubble of where they grew up and meet and interact and empathize with people of different backgrounds and outside of their own, community. Also, 98% of people say that their gap year helped increase their confidence and maturity. Wouldn't we all love that before starting our college experience or going into the workforce? And 82% say that their gap year gave them a competitive job advantage. And that is not just due to maybe work experiences or internships that they can pursue on their gap time, but also those soft skills like confidence, problem solving, leadership skills that students can gain on gap time. Additionally, we found that through studies at UNC Chapel Hill and Middlebury College, that gap year students actually perform better academically than traditional students when we look at their GPAs as well as college completion rates. So if you're thinking about a gap year after high school and before higher education, it can prove extremely beneficial to helping maximize your college experience. So what can you do on a gap year? There are so many opportunities out there that you can really customize it to your own personality, budget, and goals. Now, one thing that I think is really important for people to understand is that most gap year students do multiple things over the course of their gap experience. So a lot of students will defer admission from a college of choice if they are college bound, and then they basically have an academic year of experiences to fill. Most students will work or be closer to home in the summer after high school graduation, and then kind of launch into their gap experiences around the same time that some of their peers might be starting college. Now, what do? They can do things like service or volunteer work, both domestically or internationally. They can intern through experiences locally that they create through their own connections or through internship programs that can help match them with opportunities in an industry they want to explore. They can work close to home. They can work while living with a family friend away from home, or increasingly, you can actually work in places like the national parks or at a resort or in a ski town and make money while living independently, gaining those life skills and offsetting the cost of your living expenses. Once we kind of get through the pandemic, it'll become more common again for students to actually also be able to get working holiday visas, where you can actually work abroad in places like Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. There are also experiential programs. If you Google gap year program, a lot of what's going to come up are these kinds of programs. They tend to have the same group of peers and leaders guiding students through a certain type of experience. Sometimes that experience is more outdoor focused, like skills building in the outdoors, backpacking, surfing, other types of wilderness and outdoor experiences. Other times it's more cultural, language learning, immersion programs, living abroad and getting to really immerse yourself in a different culture. Sometimes the programs are kind of a combination, and I call those buffet programs, where you get to choose and do a lot of different things in a region, whether it's in the States, in Central America, in Asia, in East or West Africa. There are so many programs that go so many places across the world. There's definitely something for you in that category if you want to travel with other gap year students and have a more structured experience. Then there's independent projects. A lot of students, create their own experiences. They do road trips, or they write a one-woman play, or they, go on a backpacking trip in Europe or Southeast Asia. Sometimes they do an outdoor trip, like a camping trip or something along those lines, if they have the skill set. So there's many different things that you can do close to home and away from home that are self-designed. And lastly, travel. I think that travel, again, does not have to mean out of the country if that's not in the cards for you. But increasingly, we are seeing more of the world open again after the pandemic or in a post-pandemic world. And travel and experiencing new places can be such an important part of the gap year experience, as it allows a student to gain new skills, explore new places, and try out who they are in a new setting. So that was a quick overview of what you can do in a gap year, why you might want to do it. Now, the planning process is basically that you want to start with goals. You want to create opportunities that support those goals for that particular individual. And then you want to make sure that you're reflecting and keeping it meaningful and intentional throughout the actual gap experience. I am available for questions, for introductory conversations, and just for general resource sharing and that kind of thing. You can find me at enroutegapyear.com, and I'm also on Instagram at the same handle, enroute.gapyear. So again, my name is Julia Rogers. Thanks for listening, and I hope this was helpful. Bye.